As we know, a windfall is defined as a sudden financial gain, usually from an unexpected source.
Sister Jacqueline! Sister Sisto! Sister Betril! Come here, sisters, quickly, I have something to show you.
The reason for our happiness was a check for $5,000 donated to Convent Santanco by a certain Señor Juan Hernando. The figures swam before my eyes, so many lovely zeros.
Yeah, like that. They have one small problem with this donation. They have no idea who Señor Hernando is. A search of the records turned up an orphan named Juan Hernando who grew up at the convent before any of the current sisters got there. He left at 17 to seek his fortune. Looks like he found it. And I guess he's grateful to the sisters for his upbringing. Or else he realizes the facilities are just as crappy and falling apart as they were when he was there, so it's time for some much-needed upgrades. There's a lot that needs to be done, but step one is for Sister Bertrille and Sister Jacqueline to go into town and deposit this check before the banks close for the weekend. It lands in a tree where a crow picks it up and flies off with it toward town. Sister Bertrille would do her best to keep up with him. Sister Jacqueline follows in the station wagon.
Drop that check, you understand? Drop that check this very instant. Oh, no. Now he listens to me.
It could be worse. The fireplace could be lit. Kind of like that.
Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me. I got it. Oh, it's only scorched a little bit down here where the signature is.
Without the signature, it's just another piece of paper with meaningless numbers on it. Sister Bertrille has an idea. Find Señor Hernando in the phone book and ask him for a new check.
Here's his name. And here, and here, and here, and here.
It seems Juan Hernando is the John Smith of Puerto Rico.
There's close to 2 pages of Juan Hernando's. There's only one thing to do, and Sister Bertrille is doing it. Wear and tear on her ear notwithstanding.
Hello, this is Sister Bertrille of the Convent Santanco. I'm looking for Juan Hernando. Oh. Uh-huh. Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Hernando. She's looking for him, too. Has been for 10 years.
The next one gets out of prison in 5 years, so that's an improvement, I think.
Hello. Yes, this is Juan Hernando.
This is Sister Bertrille, the Convent Santanco.
Yes, sister, what can I do for you?
Well, first I want to make sure you're the real Señor Hernando.
Yes, I am the real Señor Hernando.
And here we go. What does that mean? You expect maybe Juan Hernando is an alias? Although, considering the kind of person this guy is, he might think about using one.
The orphan?
Yes, you could say that, mm-hmm.
And you were raised by the sisters?
Yes, you could say that also.
I think Sister Bertrille is getting a little punchy. These questions are nice and vague. When my mother died, one of my aunts walked up to my siblings and me and said, "Well, you're orphans now, so I qualify." I had 3 sisters who also doubled as my babysitters, so I was raised by sisters, so I qualify. See the problem here, sister? Ask him if he sent you a check.
What are you doing?
I am taking this typewriter.
You can't do that.
Do you have the money you still owe on it?
No, but
Then I'm taking this typewriter.
I think we know the answer. He couldn't send them a check for 5,000 cents, much less dollars. But ask him, would you please?
I'm calling about the donation.
Yes, sister, you were saying something about a donation?
Yes, the $5,000 check.
She forgot to say something. The $5,000 check you sent us. It's amazing how 3 little words can change the meaning of a sentence so drastically.
Tell him we'll bring it right over.
Yes, Señor Hernando, if it's all right with you, we'd like to bring it right over.
Sister, let me try to understand what it is you are saying. You are saying, if it is all right with me, you are going to bring the check for $5,000?
And now, thanks to Sister Bertrill's vagueness, he thinks they are bringing him a nice fat check for his campaign coffers. The first thing he needs to do is see a barber and get that mustache properly groomed. It's plain to see he doesn't know how to do it himself.
Do you know what that means, Senor Tomas? That the sisters of the convent of Santanco are supporting me in my campaign.
Well, what did he say?
Well, he's giving us a new check for $5,000.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Setup is complete. We're ready for the shenanigans. While the sisters are on their way, it's time for the big campaign rally. Let's check out the real Juan Hernando.
I promise you that if I am elected mayor, I promise you that I will keep my promises. I will build a new superhighway, a bridge connecting the islands, and a football stadium.
How will you get the money?
By lowering the taxes. That is
He'll pay for extravagant projects by lowering taxes. Sounds like... no, I tell you guys to keep politics out of the comments, so I'll set the example and I won't go there. Plus, this is 1968. We had a whole different breed of liars back then. They had it a lot better than the liars today because there was no internet and no instant fact-checking. It could take weeks to track down the truth, and in the meantime, guys like him could rob you blind.
that I am not only the candidate of labor and of management, of the working class and of the property class, but also of that most sacred of all institutions, the church itself.
As if to reinforce his statement, the sisters just arrived. He wants them to do this in front of everybody to prove he has their blessing.
Listen, I'd like to explain what happened to it.
What could happen to it safe and snug in your little purse? Intermission time.
He says, I can't use this. They say, neither can we. Could you please write us a new one?
You want me to give you... In other words, sisters, if my mind is still functioning, I am going to give you a check for $5,000.
Thank you very much, Señor Hernando. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You will be remembered in our prayers.
And I won't forget you. Never.
Just give us a new check. We'll be running along.
I cannot give you a new check.
He has all kinds of clever, creative reasons why he can't do it right now. At least he's a committee of one who thinks they're clever and creative.
What I will do is transfer funds from my campaign account to my joint account, which will take a little time, of course.
How much time?
A few days until I'm elected mayor. At which time, sisters, believe me, I will be writing checks all over the place.
Just don't ask to whom or what for. There's nothing to do but go back and report what they found.
There is nothing to be concerned about. I am certain that Señor Hernando will keep his word. In fact, he just telephoned me a few moments ago, just before you returned.
He did?
Yes, he said that he is on his way over here right now.
He is?
It's the fastest transfer of funds in history.
Sister Jacqueline put it best.
While we were preparing for the arrival of Señor Hernando, we were too busy to notice the arrival of Señor Hernando. Although even if we had noticed him, we wouldn't have noticed him. Does that sound confusing? It was.
Reverend Mother is explaining to Señor Hernandez how the check got damaged, and he's happy to write a new one. She's happy to accept it, at least until the bishop calls.
My capacity is strictly advisory. However, do you think it's wise to involve the convent in local politics?
Your Excellency, I am not certain that I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, then let me read this to you. Santanco's sisters support honest Juan Hernando.
He's giving her an earful about honest Juan, and she's listening.
Señor Hernando, you should be ashamed of yourself for what you have done.
What did I do?
That telephone call was from His Excellency the Bishop.
Yes, yes.
It was about you, Señor Hernando. He explained everything.
Reverend Mother, I have committed a sin or two in my lifetime.
Senor Hernando, there is one sin which exceeds all others in perfidy, and that is the sin of attempting to bribe the church. Senor Hernando, you are a self-serving, heartless, evil man.
He still doesn't understand, but she doesn't care. The sooner he leaves, the better.
Well, the meat's cooking, the table's set, and who was that man?
Why, that was your good, kind, generous Senor Hernando.
Oh, no, it wasn't our good, kind, generous Senor Hernando.
That's one of the things that I always liked about this show, and one of the things that really made it stand out. Usually, in a religious-based show like this, there's one person, most often the person at the top, who is all-knowing, all-wise, and always has the answers. Not this time. Reverend Mother Placido makes just as many mistakes and gaffes as the rest of them. She's their leader, but she knows she's far from perfect. Right now, she's painfully aware of that. Let's just hope the sisters can catch him, apologize, and explain before he leaves.
With a name as common as mine, anything can happen.
Then you bear us no ill will.
Of course not, Reverend Mother. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Won't you stay for dinner, Senor Hernando? We have some fantastic brandy peaches. And a lovely roast. Rarely done. Done rare, sister.
Thank you, but I must be going.
Oh, well, aren't you forgetting something?
Of course, my hat.
Check?
No.
I beg your pardon?
He's not angry with them, but he's still not giving them the $5,000.
The Reverend Mother was right.
The Reverend Mother was wrong, whatever she said.
Actually, you do understand, Senor Hernando, that I was referring to another scoundrel. Another Senor Hernando.
It does not matter. You hit on the truth. My life has been anything but pure. I have become wealthy in ways I'm not proud of.
He doesn't want to give them tainted money. Now, when it enters their hands, it's not tainted anymore, and in fact, they're doing exactly what Jesus said to do. Take money that might have come from questionable sources and do something good with it. Remember the end of Lethal Weapon 2? Riggs and Murtaugh are in a shipping container and they discover it's full of cash, billions of dollars. Roger pulls out a handful and says, with what I'm holding in my hand, I could send all 3 of my kids to college. Riggs says, why don't you take it? It's drug money, sure, but do something good with it. In that aspect of things, as far as I'm concerned, Riggs was right. The bad guys got the money by destroying lives. Take it from them and use it to build lives. Now, granted, if he did do that, he'd have an interesting time explaining to the IRS where it came from, but if he grabs enough of it, he can afford a good lawyer, too. Señor Hernando doesn't see it that way. He can't give them money from questionable sources. Sister Bertrell says, do you have any from untainted sources?
Yes, I have. 5 years ago, I bought a piece of land and sold it a year later for a handsome profit. It was a clean, no-monkey business transaction. That profit, I would be glad to donate.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Senor Hernando. The check is for $100.
That's what he made on the land. He needs to throw it back and let it grow up before it qualifies as a handsome profit. It's no wonder he turned to shady dealings, because he's terrible at this legitimate stuff. There's just one loose end to wrap up.
But I thought I was the real Juan Hernando. I mean, all my life I have been the real Juan Hernando. Isn't it? Now suddenly I am no longer the real Juan Hernando anymore.
Certainly not the Juan who sent us the check.
Well, is that my fault?
No, it isn't. She never actually asked him, are you the Juan Hernando who sent us this check? Had she done that, all would have been well, and the episode would have been about 6 minutes long. Still, once the mix-up was discovered, he went ahead and took false advantage of them. It's time to pay the piper.
If I am elected mayor of our fair city, that I will not do away with all of the taxes. And I promise you also that you could forget about the superhighway. And you could forget about the new bridges and the stadium.
So what will he do?
I will go to church every day of my life and give thanks. Because if I am elected, I will be the most prized man in all of Puerto Rico.
I suppose that's going to depend on who's running against him. Is anybody running against him? We never found out. I'll throw my support behind Tomas the typewriter guy. He seems to understand economics a lot better than Señor Hernando does.
Goodbye.
See what I mean? If you enjoyed this, please click the like button to let me and YouTube know you want to see more. If you're not subscribed yet, punch me in the mask here and get signed up so you don't miss a thing, because something is always happening here at Irving Zoo. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Picks out of the comments. Slow down. Guys like him could rob you. Rob, well, good grief. Then he's happy. The moment it enters into their, the moment it enters their hand, good grief. When it enters their,